Yeah. Is it back on? Okay, we are back into an open meeting. So the motions that were basically discussed and placed before us. I guess the first thing would be to entertain a motion to vote to waive potential conflict of interest as outlined in the representation agreement. Is there a motion to do so? Is there a motion to waive the potential conflict of interest as outlined in the representation agreement?
I move to waive the conflict of interest.
Motion made by Commissioner Miller to waive the potential conflict of interest as outlined in the representation agreement. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Everly. Is there any more discussion on the motion to waive potential conflicts of interest as outlined in the representation agreement? Not hearing any, we'll do a roll call vote.
Everly,
Yes.
Holm,
Yeah.
Magrum,
Yes,
Materi,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
motion's passed. Second motion would be a motion on appealing the North Dakota Public Service Commission's decision on case number PU-22-391 that impacts the interests of Emmons County and enforcement of its applicable ordinances. Is there a motion to do so?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Everly on appealing the North Dakota Public Service Commission's decision. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Holm. Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, we have a motion and a second on appealing the North Dakota Public Service Commission's decision on case number PU-22-391 that impact the interests of Emmons County and enforcement of its applicable ordinances. Marty, just way to do the roll.
Everly,
Yes.
Holm,
Yeah.
Magrum,
Yes,
Materi,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
motion passed. The next would be a motion to continue retaining Broughton Law Firm and signing the representation agreement. Is there a motion to do so?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Commissioner Materi. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Miller. Is there any more discussion on continuing to retain Broughton Law Firm and signing the representation agreement? Not hearing any. Marla, please call the roll.
Everly,
Yes.
Holm,
Yeah.
Magrum,
Yes.
Materi,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Motion is approved, and the agreement will be signed. That agenda item is covered, and now I need to find my agenda. See. Okay, the next item that I do remember quickly is the, it's going to be the port services for Hazelton City. Joe, you kind of have a little bit of a brief or anything, so.
Yeah, I guess, he had their last judge, Deputy Wright, who moved on to North Dakota, State Highway Patrol. They haven't appointed him because their commission decided they would rather pursue, what Linton did and use a district court rather than retain, a paid judge that may or may not have a case. And also all the filings that they have to keep up with, as well as the education that the judges have to keep up with. So they asked, I guess, for a contract. I just took the one that Linton had and changed out the city, went into the city of Hazelton, sent it to them. They approved it and signed it, and so it's up to the county if we're willing to do that and enter into that agreement. I would say on average, I've been their attorney since 2015. We've probably had 3 or 4 cases.
Since 15?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, they don't have city police and they don't have a contract with Emmons County to provide policing within the city. So there's really not anybody there to issue citations. So it's pretty rare. You kind of end up, I would like to see them maybe contract with the sheriff's department at some point, but I don't know that they have the budget for that. So you're probably not going to look at citations very often. being issued. So I really don't know that it's gonna be anything that impacts us. It will impact Hazelton, of course, will save, their budget will be saved a little bit, you know, not having to staff that position, not having to pay for any trainings, and also the clerk's office the same, so it's kind of a benefit to them. I don't know that it's really, anything that we will notice at the county.
So does it benefit us at all, as far as any kind of certain fees or anything?
No, I don't think so. It technically, if there was a fine, I think we share, I think half of 40%, so we would get 20% of that income, but under the agreement, if I recall, the state, I think it's 60%.
But if they're having a case every 18 months, it's really not
You're not gonna see it.
it's not a huge inconvenience either way, nor is it really an expense mostly. I mean,
And it does ultimately have to be approved by the state. I don't think they'll have any issue with it. Last time it took them a while to approve it, so we'll see, but, they approved the Linton one. And it seems to be working okay so far. We haven't really had much. We just kind of started it. I know Napoleon does it. They've been doing it for a number of years now. It's a lot easier, you know, for people. I mean, there's a record of everything that happens. The state provides the judges, so everything is, for the most part, done properly.
it's probably a more legitimate process than just having a small town judge that may or may not, you know, be an expert in the said topic, cause it's not happening very much and all that too. I mean, you could talk about maybe just streamlining and legitimizing it a little bit.
I know I would prefer it just because I question sometimes the legitimacy of an appointed judge that's not law trained and citations coming from the commissioners and, you know.
It's different if
Small towns, you know, they have issues too, and if they don't have a police officer and they don't have a contract and a budget for it, it's tough. And usually it ends up being somebody like me writes them a letter and sometimes they listen, but most times they don't, so.
So we need to make a motion to just basically
To
give our
approve,
blessing
yeah,
or approve
to
basically.
approve the agreement and so that we can send it to the state for consideration.
If I may interrupt you, one of the questions I have on that is, does the state require a contract for enforcement purposes?
Not that I know of,
Okay.
but I can certainly, when I send it to Judge Romanek, I can let him know.
Right now, I'm not interested in entering into an enforcement contract with the city agency. Granted, they don't have a lot, but I just, right now. And I know that was one of the questions that even when Linton did that, was the state had, well, is there a contract for the sheriff's office? And just the way that conversation went, to me, I just interpreted that as that was gonna make a part of the decision whether the state would do that or not, I don't know.
Well, I'll CC you and we'll let Judge Romanek know that there's no contract. We'll see if that's a concern.
Just to clarify though, like, you still enforce criminal matters, this is more like civil, city, like
Yeah, city
ordinances matters
City
and stuff,
ordinances,
right,
yeah,
and that's,
what
yeah.
the state is concerned about. I think it's that, state stuff, yeah, we use the state enforcement, right? State traffic laws, state
Right.
criminal stuff.
So that's not gonna change, it's just, it would,
Right, yeah.
the discussion is always like policies about dogs or fences or alleyways,
Yeah.
it's the like of
City
that.
So you don't have it, do you have anybody in Hazelton?
No.
So before when you did he take care of that kind of stuff?
They took care of the city, you know, either the mayor, I'm not sure you could ever quote any. If there was a dog issue, and that was usually the thing, or maybe a yard, you know, cleanup thing or something, the city had to against, they handled.
Well, and then with Damon, when he was acting as the judge though, was not part of the Emmons County Sheriff's Department, he was acting as the judge. It might have gotten construed that way, just because he lived in Hazelton.
Right.
That was kind of a separate, and probably a good situation, because he did have some legal background, but at the same time, like, there might have been people confused with the idea, like, oh, Damon did that, that's the sheriff's department, it's like, no, he was the city judge for Hazelton.
Right.
Not acting as a deputy when he did, or whatever it was, you know, so.
Yeah, and he did a great job as the municipal judge.
Right, yeah.
What is Strasburg, sir, Judge?
No, well, Yeah, I guess you could.
Well, they had a municipal judge in place and he's resigned. I don't believe they've appointed anyone to replace him.
To my knowledge, no, not that I'm aware of.
They had trouble there with him, I think, right, or something? There was a deal with him.
He was with the school.
Yeah,
I get to, with that, but yeah, basically just, there's
He's still on.
resignation, and I don't know if they filled
I
it.
don't, there's judges.
yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
No, I don't know if you necessarily need a judge, it's just that your ordinances won't get it. You know, basically, you don't have any ordinances, so if you want ordinances, you gotta at least sign up with the district court or have a judge of your own, essentially, right? That's kind of where we're at.
Further.
Exactly, so basically, that's where Hazelton's just at least lining up with the district court in the fact that they really do have to enforce a serious ordinance, and they would go through that process.
So
They can't,
Strasburg essentially,
they can't hook up with you as the state's attorney to act as their judge.
No. Well, I don't live in their city limits either.
But Joe, you're the city attorney.
Yeah.
he counsels them and probably does their paperwork, but actually enforcing the ordinances, you would need
I
somebody
didn't-
from the judge, so.
Yeah, I mean,
It's like, doing services through the district court in Hazelton, like elected, I guess, so. I mean, if they wanna do, it doesn't really seem like it's gonna impact us very much at all, so. I guess I'd entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny the services contract for the city of Hazelton, I'm assuming with the district court, with the rate.
state court administration.
Court services contract for the city of Hazelton. I need a motion to approve, table, or deny. Entertain a motion to approve, table, or deny. Nobody wants to see in the minutes? It's really a non-consequential issue, I guess, I don't know. I don't think it's a big deal at all, it's already been done in the city of Lytton.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Everly makes a motion to approve the court services contract with the city of Hazelton. I second that motion, second by Commissioner Materi. Any more discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Court services contract approved. Next item on the agenda would be the summit safety discussion brought up before. I guess the main topic of discussion would be the safety meeting that Mary participated in and whether or not we got really any relevant information or a plume model, and I don't think we have, so.
Gary, did you attend that with Summit?
Yeah.
When they were here on a safety issue, did they release a blue model?
Yeah, it was vague, I mean, I shouldn't say it wasn't in depth, but they did have some additional information that they said they couldn't previously release, which I don't understand why they couldn't previously release that.
Well, Mary stated a letter here that she states that it was pretty preliminary and they will not elaborate any more on it until construction starts on safety measures.
To me, what I got out of it is more informational information, and like I expressed myself at that meeting to the gentleman from Summit there, that why wasn't this information brought out previously, before all of us are having these conversations 9 months to a year later? Why wasn't this, and really it was hard to get a straight answer as far as why. Other than that some of the information was,
There's a shock.
not able to release, which I don't buy into myself wholeheartedly, 100%. Yeah,
So how big is
Pretty vague.
plume models?
pretty basic information. It wasn't nothing shocking, it wasn't nothing that was, none of us didn't know before for the
I
most
mean, my issue about it is if they
part. It was
really had,
information.
if they had any information that was really gonna turn the tide, and they know our participation in this whole
Oh,
process,
yeah.
all they'd have to do is come to this meeting and start divulging some of that information and maybe would turn the tide, but they haven't even attempted that, which tells me that they basically know they don't have any information that's truly gonna, like, change anybody's mind. I mean, all these, they know the players, they know everybody here, they know us all, they could come in here and
With the director.
I would be more than happy to give them an hour and a half of time and they could bring something up, and we did it at our public hearings and everything, and like you said, now all of a sudden this information, can come out, so as far as the safety discussion with them, I think it's just talk around.
So they didn't say anything, could be 500 feet or 10 miles?
Well, again, it's relevant to wind conditions, it's relevant to temperature, it's relevant to weather, you know, information and so forth. But, I mean, it was more, to me, more informational about, you know, the product itself and so forth.
All verbal,
What's that?
all verbal, nothing in
Well,
writing.
no, it was a PowerPoint presentation with some photographs and some graphs and stuff like that, but, you know, parts, they talk about parts per million before it becomes lethal and so forth. But again, there's so many variables that you have to take in, whether you're standing, you know, 50 feet from a major leak versus, you know, 500 feet. Yes, there's a difference. I mean, that's kind of common sense with that. So to me, it was more informational type stuff. I think even for the other first responders that were there from Hazelton or Linton area, I don't know that everybody, I don't think anybody walked away thinking, boy, I really didn't know any of this information. It was pretty common information, pretty,
I don't know, most of the common information is being labeled as misinformation, so that's where I always kind of chuckle, because you know,
Yeah.
we're supposed to be getting the truth now at these new meetings, you know, which before apparently we weren't getting.
It's sad in my opinion, that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, well, it's very, very poor.
I think what we're trying to do now, in my opinion, is try to make peace with a lot of first responders and the communities and so forth, and we talked about that too, and, yeah. So,
Anybody else have any additional comments about the summit safety discussion?
No. Well, there is nothing that.
Well, just preliminary. So anyway, the next item up for discussion would be any kind of an update from Stevenson property, which I think for the most part, basically, we have a judgment, right, Joe? And that's kind of where it's at.
Yeah, there's a judgment, you can take a copy of one here. I think we went over this, at the January meeting, I believe. Discussed at that time, seemed to be that you won't be taking further action. Leave that up to what you guys decide with regard to that property, but there's a judgment in place, it's active. You certainly could take action to abate the nuisance existing on the property, describing the judgment if you wish.
And the judgment came through kind of, late fall there, right? So it's probably good till October, November, I don't remember the date exactly.
It's dated on this back, the second page, we're December 19th,
Okay,
so it's
sure.
almost 3 months old.
Yep, so it's good for approximately a year or a year, right? That was kind of what we learned last time?
Yeah,
Okay.
So what do we do now, in the meantime?
Well, it's kind of the same discussion we had before. I mean, you can go in and clean it up, but what defines cleaning it up? That's the question, so. You know, we really don't have any ordinances specific to some of it. I mean, if there's an ordinance with the state health department or any of those kinds of things, or Custer Health or something you can go by, because I just, like we'd said before, what I think is a nuisance is probably, we all five probably have a different version of a nuisance, and we could probably all five walk into each other's garages and, and one guy would say it's the cleanest garage he's ever been in, and the other guy thinks, oh, it needs some cleaning. So that's the only reason why we should have some kind of guideline, whether we create it or we follow somebody else's or something. That's just my opinion.
Well, here at the bottom it says, wind breaks, fences, posts, and other structures built or erected without approval of the county.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know we needed approval to build a windbreak, a fence, or put posts in.
The windbreak we built up is fall down already, that fell down already.
So what have you done in the past, Gary? Have you done anything out there in the past, correct?
That's, the board has been kicking us down the road for 5-6 years.
Well,
I
haven't
wouldn't
touched
even
it.
say that's totally fair though, because I'll say one thing, and Don was on the board with me 5 years ago, 6 years ago, because Alex Johnner was still on too with us. And we got on him just like this process, and he cleaned it. And we went out there,
We
we
went
toured
out
it,
a few times.
and it was, I mean, at the end, it was good enough that we were like, wow, this is good, and then it just.
He
And I-
cleaned it.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
himself, we did not spend a nickel on it other than
The
the
county
paperwork.
did go out and clean it.
Well, when my dad was
One time.
commissioner, they
County
went and
went out,
cleaned it
yeah.
too, and that was before our time, and that was 5-10 years prior to that, and I think they gave him a bill for, it was in the thousands of dollars, and he paid it, and you're going, okay, so you issued,
I think it was
you
$8,000.
cleaned it, gave him the bill, he paid it, and then it returned, it's back, and so like I said, it's kind of a hard situation, because I know when Kevin came in one other time, we were just frank with him, we're like, you gotta keep it clean and maintained, and then he goes through a point where we get this organized and it's tolerable, and then as soon as we back off, it's gone, it's not a ordinance issue, he's not, I don't even think he disagrees with the ordinances, he just can't help himself when it's a mess,
Yeah.
so,
So by
I mean-
the other day, it's a total mess.
it is, and
And you feel bad that the people that live there beside them,
That's, if I can speak, I think that's the biggest issue here is if this residence was, a mile out in the nearest neighborhood, half a mile away, this conversation would not.
wouldn't even be here. Exactly.
But in close proximity to the neighbors, it is directly affecting them.
Right.
They are the ones that started this process with the complaints to the county of trying to get this corrected. Again, if he was, in a different location and it wasn't affecting others around him, not an issue, this conversation wouldn't be taken.
I still think it's our responsibility to do something rather than just have those other people be saying.
I don't disagree with any of that, it's the same issue with talking about the Gloss Road, it's all of it, it's about consistency, guys. We're inconsistent in a lot of these decisions, and that's where I advocate for the consistency. I don't have a problem, I think the property is totally out of line and should get corrected. So where do you stop? What is, if he piles the wood nicely in the yard, is that okay? Or is it not okay to have a pile of wood in the yard? We don't have anything that clarifies a lot of that, and we've also, to piggyback on that situation, we had another complaint down at Cattail Bay of very similar issues. We got a guy moving stuff in. It's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, but he's starting to get surrounded by people, they're putting trailers in, they're putting campers in, they're complaining. But what are we gonna do? Are we going to start crafting some ordinances and going around and enforcing them on these properties? And if we are, what are we gonna do? I'm not advocating one way or the other, but
What do other cities do?
well, that's where you need to check, what do other counties do or cities do and things like that, and see if you wanna piecemeal something together, like you like some of it, don't, whatever, but, yard cleanliness, it's hard, because everybody's got a different opinion, so without some kind of policy to stay consistent, we're going around and we're picking favorites, or we're only responding to people that complain, and that, to me, is very inconsistent, and it's not right. I'm not disagreeing that the properties need to get clean, I don't know how to clean them, that's what I'm telling you.
Commissioner Manger, in one of those processes years back, when the property was cleaned up, again, for clarification, and to jog my memory, did Custer Health have to come back and do a follow-up inspection, and if they gave the thumbs up, I don't recall, and that passed then or something.
I mean, I think Custer Health's been used as a reference, but I think even talking to Joe, they've kind of washed their hands of it too, because it's the same line, like, one time it's clean enough, the next time it's still not clean enough, one time we do something, one time we don't. And I think they're even going, well, you don't really have any ordinances, they couldn't even go in and tell you, other than the obvious nuisances that they probably have with their own administrative standards, rodents, mold, whatever, they wouldn't look at you and be like, yeah, them 7 lawnmowers there in the trees, that's a problem. They don't know if we have a problem with that. We don't know if we have a problem with that. I mean, you can say you have a problem with it, but how is anyone who's even cleaning the property even to know if they've reached a point, other than us just looking and going, yeah, it's good enough? Well, how do we know that's any cleaner or better than the last 5 years ago? And like I said, you can have your opinions. I don't disagree with them, and I don't disagree, I thought Kevin did a good job the last time we went through this process, and here we are again. And I believe it's worse than it was before, and I believe that it's gonna continue to get worse, so.
Didn't we have somebody lined up to go in and clean it out?
Yeah, I know, Aaron, you talked to somebody, right?
Right, we did, we had, well, it was Jared Rice and whatever he calls his business, he had given us a bid.
And then we're just waiting for the,
We were waiting for the judgment, and then the weather kind of turned, but then we came to this discussion again, where it's like, I wouldn't even know what to tell Jared what to clean up. We really don't know.
Arrow, I had talked to Arrow as well, and they kind of contacted me recently to see what there was an update, and I said, no, they didn't want to move forward with it. In my opinion, is whatever constitutes a nuisance, in our minds, doesn't really matter. The judge made an order that it is a nuisance, and they've ordered what needs to be removed, so I would just, if I was involved in it, I would have told Arrow, yeah, everything has to be removed, and if you don't want items thrown away, then don't let it get to the point where a judge finds your property to be a nuisance. That would be my.
It's not the neighbor's fault.
No.
Oh, I know.
Why should they live with it?
And I'm
Well,
not,
I mean, if this judgment defines enough things that you guys feel comfortable with it or whatever, I'm fine with that. I just wanna be
well,
consistent.
there's no
that's
reason
all.
to get a judgment if we never act on it.
Right, well, I mean, we have the judgment, so we can act on it.
Yeah,
If you wanna act on it, that's fine.
You
I'm
say,
not
well,
stopping anybody
This
from
goes for
acting.
another year, you said, well, we don't wanna wait another year, at least I don't think we should. I mean,
Well, I would say we could, do it as soon as the weather clears up again here, which, probably a couple of weeks, really. I mean, or if that's the will of the commission, but you gotta have some direction of it, just go clean it, because I don't know what clean is. I mean,
So what do you do in this case, Gary? From a legal aspect, did she have to leave the premise so there's no?
No, I mean, that's a Joe, that question, that Joe should be involved, but we're involved, the sheriff's office, we're there as a peacekeeper.
Right,
Make sure that
it doesn't
everybody
get
plays nice together, so to speak, and so forth. I think, I can't recall if Kevin was present, I think he probably got a right to be there, obviously, when he's doing this, as long as he doesn't interfere or create a situation that becomes dangerous or threatening.
Well, I know that was one kind of prerequisite from Jared's company, was that they wanted somebody,
Yeah.
a sheriff's deputy, cause like he said, he didn't wanna worry about getting a hammer in the back of the head or so. I mean, whether or not you don't think it will happen, it
Right.
could
It's
happen.
just to make sure
Yes,
things run smoothly and good, but again, I think it's always a good day if you can have the property owner there and part of that process. Great, as long as, again, everybody plays nice together and nothing becomes out of hand and so forth.
Can he be there to take what he feels he wants to take or no?
well, he's gonna be there and say, I want this pile of wood. What do you- This wood, that's what he said, remember when we worked around, well, what about this? Well, I could use these pieces of wood for this, and this.
You can't go.
It's the reason why I'm saying what I'm saying. I'm not trying to defend Kevin's mess. I'm trying to be fair as a citizen of Emmons County. If your property's being judged as a mess, what is it that deems it a mess? If this judgment is good enough for you guys and it's consistent enough that you can tell someone to clean it up, I'm fine with that.
That's what I would think.
And,
'cause
but
it-
I'm just
it says
saying,
right
we
here,
kinda
trash.
lack ordinances, because like I said, you go around with Kevin, and he gives you an excuse of why he needs that, and you're like, okay, that's fine. Well, no, that's not fine. It either needs to be prescribed, then that's okay,
See, that's
or it's
where,
gotta get hauled up.
but that's where, if he's there present, you can't just go around and say, well, I wanna keep this, I wanna keep that, or?
Well, I guess that would be a question for Joel. With this judgment, that basically states that we can go in and remove anything that this judgment basically describes, not.
But not inside the home.
Yeah, no, not inside the home.
Right, but
All the stuff that's outside.
outside
should be
the home.
hauled away and thrown out.
And especially, I mean, since there's so many descriptions here, you basically could eliminate
You got
practically
everything.
everything in the yard, right?
Cars, parts, machines.
I mean,
He'll go back.
there's 20 items on here.
It's just.
I mean, everything he's got right there.
Exactly, so, I mean, that's where, if
What
you're,
do you say?
I'm okay with that.
if everybody's okay with that, then I think you need to make a motion based on that, not just go, we need to make a motion that we're gonna go in and clean it up. We need to have some kind of description, whether you reference this judgment, however you wanna do it, cause then you gotta be able to tell whoever it is you hire or get to do it, what it is you want done. And if you're gonna base it off this judgment, that's fine.
Oh, that's what.
Or an ordinance
I'll
you
make a
create,
motion to follow this judgment, take everything out that looks like garbage.
My question is, who's gonna look for somebody that even wanna go in there?
Hang on, well, I think what we need to do is if we have a motion on the table, if we want to, second it and go into discussion, or we just wanna let it die for lack of a second, I guess, or we have a motion on the table, which is to basically
Follow the judgment.
mitigate the mess as per the judgment. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Not hearing any, the motion dies for lack of a second. But I think we'll go back to discussion. I think the reason is probably they don't understand the motion perfectly. So what do you?
Well, I guess just beating the motion die, yeah.
Well, I guess I'm in favor of doing something. I'm not, I don't wanna see it continue. I just wanna make sure whatever we're doing consistently. If you're gonna base it off the judgment, I'm fine with that.
Base it up to judgment, take a seat.
With the description it gives there,
Clean out his stuff, if there's still more stuff down the road or whatever.
I mean, he's had more than enough time. He's, you know, we got the judgment, we've been fair enough.
Put it on his taxes and then he'll maybe eventually learn not to.
He will not.
I can
Still,
I
I
can
mean,
contact the, you know, I forget what Jared's company's name was, but he does like, you know, scrap metal and scrapping and, you know, clean up stuff.
you know,
I can
I,
ask him again if he's still interested, and I will kind of describe off this judgment what it is we want done, which is essentially everything outside of the house, basically, according to this judgment. It's pretty hard to, I mean, he basically, I mean, just to give you an example of what the judgment says, it says, disposing of any trash, rubbish, junk, piles of wood, lumber, metal, trash, metal, comma, trash, so metal and or trash, building materials, furniture, appliances, small engine machines and parts, car parts, windbreaks, fences, posts, and other structures built or erected without county approval of the county, and other miscellaneous garbage or piles of trash, debris, and damaged, unlicensed, or otherwise junk vehicles, automobiles, trailers, other debris or objects of refuse, or any item in violation of North Dakota Century Code or any applicable Emmons County ordinances, and the cost of doing so may be assessed against the above described real property of the defendant.
I guess I just feel that, you know what, we had this judgment, how many times already we do this? Joe's probably getting tired of it. And like I said, if we never act on it, what do we gain? And if we go out there and have him to clean this up, well, at least he knows now again, okay, it's gonna cost another $5,000 or whatever on his taxes. I feel sorry for Kevin too, but I feel more sorry for the people that live next to him now, you know what I mean?
I do too.
Well, I mean, I feel like this judgment is descriptive enough that at least it gives you, I mean, if I hand this to somebody that wants to clean up the property, then they can give us an estimate, because the hard part I ran into was, well, what do you want cleaned up? Well, you know, in the past, we worked with them on this and that, well, I just don't think you can do that. And if you're not gonna do that, you gotta basically agree to what you're gonna do.
Clean the yard.
We don't have an ordinance for it, so the judgment is what we'd have to go off of, which I'm fine with going off the judgment, which basically, for lack of a better term, is basically anything outside of the house can go.
Yeah, that's what I think too, and like if Gary has to sit there with him, I mean, he can't walk around and say, I want this and want this, if it says it right in the judgment.
I think if we have somebody on the
Yeah,
property.
there it goes to the peacekeeping, as long as he doesn't interfere, create a hazard or a threat, you know, simple comments, not a problem, but I mean, again, you know, you know, I don't think the plan is, this gives you the authority, the judgment's gonna give you the authority to enter the property and clean this up. You guys have discretion. You can either go in and take everything that is not made of grass or dirt or wood or a tree and out of there, or you can be selective and use some discretion where, okay, you know, that's okay for that to stay here. Or if you have a pile of lumber, is it neatly stacked, or is it just scattered out for 20 yards and, you know? Is it
I know, but we're
neatly
getting in the weeds again, I hate to be that way, but I'm just telling you, one man's junk is another man's treasure.
But those are decisions I have to make.
But then
if you're
organize.
gonna arrest somebody.
Well, Kevin got this.
You're gonna have to use
Yeah.
some discretion.
I think Kevin gets a copy of the judgment.
Kevin has this too, that he should
got-
go, he should be able to see what's all on it.
He served with the summons and complaint, he knew what we were asking for, we were asking for the court to order the removal of everything in his yard, and he didn't bother to respond. If he had a problem with it, he
It's
should.
probably been the nicest winter in history to ever clean a yard.
And he hasn't responded?
No,
Well, what's he gonna say? It is a nuisance.
well, that's what I'm saying,
Not gonna waste
even the
attorney
situation, I don't even think Kevin's in disagreement. I mean, he just defends that he needs that stuff, but I think he has admitted that it's, you know, it's not ideal for the neighbors or himself, but it just doesn't seem to me much he can be in control of, so I don't know.
I don't know, I guess that's just, like I said, I feel sorry for him, but I feel sorry for the people next to him, because they've been kind of complaining to me too, you know, when are you gonna clean this up, when are you gonna? Yeah, we're working on it, but that's all we ever tell them, we never do anything.
I think I and do it.
I'm just gonna throw a question out there. What if he put a wooden fence up 8 feet high, is that okay?
That fell down already, the one.
No, but if he would put a new one up, all the way around the whole premises, 8 feet high.
Well, the only
I would
thing,
say no, because there's rats.
That's what I meant, yeah, that's what I did
I
that.
would say that the main issue with a lot of the neighbors too, is they've noticed an uptick in everything from what, mice, rats, skunks, raccoons, what, I mean, they just noticed that it's a lot worse than it used
These
to be.
people
So
got
that-
little, they got little kids, I mean, you know, they got little
Rabies.
kids.
Yeah,
I'm disagreeing with any of it, I like the idea of trying to give them an avenue, but at the same time, the fence he built fell over, and now that's a part of the refuse now.
yeah,
When you start using trucks for fences.
It's just, it's kinda getting out of control, I don't disagree with it, and the judgment is, it's basically, in its vagueness, it's very clear, which is basically, there's not a lot in DR2 salvage, in my opinion, I think you just, it is time to do something, I don't disagree with as long as we're consistent, so.
Keep the judgment for another time, because it'll happen again.
Well, that,
No doubt, it's just the way it is.
probably it, but I mean, maybe Kevin will eventually, it would cost him $5,000, $8,000, maybe next time they'll think again.
Well, it hasn't worked in the past, I know that.
I don't say what I think, what it is.
No, and
because
it's-
I can't, because I'm not in the medical field.
Well, and I don't, yeah, and you don't wanna be disrespectful to Kevin, cause honestly, Kevin's been super respectful, it's such a crappy situation, cause he's never really been overly mean about it, it's just a problem that we really can't solve, all we can do is try and mitigate it to the best of our ability, so. We have a judgment, it's there, it's got enough of a description to hire somebody. I would be more than happy to reach out to Jared again and at least see if he's still interested and what kind of costs would be associated again with it. I wanna say last time, I guess I don't even remember, so I don't wanna say, so. It was in the thousands, I mean, it was,
I thought that last time was $8,000,
It
not.
was either 8 or 10, I'd have to.
are you talking about when the county cleaned it?
No.
Yes,
Oh,
when the county cleaned it,
It was that much.
it was like $8,500 or something like that, it was in that neighborhood, and the road department, I think, went in there with a skid loader and a couple guys, and they cleaned it out, and they gave him every bit of labor cost and everything, and he paid it.
Didn't you do that in Old Town, Albert Wagner Junior's place? Didn't the county go in there on that corner house?
That was flooded out, I think, and
That
then.
was probably a different situation than this one.
And if we can't find anybody, I know we didn't wanna use our county guy, but maybe we're going to do that.
Right, but I think, I think we could probably find one or two, but like I said, I mean, Jared was very interested. It's just that between the weather breaking and then we really didn't have a defined answer, well, now with the judgment, basically you just tell him, pretty much clean anything on the outside unless it's something just very obvious that he even thinks valuable, maybe lay it to the side, but a majority of the stuff, if he's in this kind of line of work, he's gonna tell you it's moldy, it's got, you know, he opened it up and there was 10 rats underneath it, and he's gotta get rid of it, whatever, so.
There's a brand new self-propelled mower sitting there. That's got value, I mean, it's brand new.
Right, I mean, I'm just saying, the obvious thing would be, I mean, I know Jared, he's a common sense person, if he's seen an $8,000 lawnmower, he's not gonna throw it in the back of a truck, but, so those are the kinds of things he would probably even just lay to the side or something, or we could make that comment, like, if you see something very obvious that is real, you know,
Of that.
workable, just throw it in a pile in the corner, or try and move it to a decent place, but
You know,
a
we could,
majority of that's gonna be pretty obvious to clean up, there's no
you
doubt.
could do that and tell them, okay, now this stuff we're gonna give you, but you gotta get rid of it.
But I'd say put it in the garage, but I'm sure you won't find room in the garage.
Well, anyway,
I don't, I'm not being critical or smart, you know.
I think a motion to at least, see if we can find somebody is perfectly in order, and if we find someone, then we can decide if we wanna act on it.
I'll make a motion to see if we can find somebody to act on this judgment and try to bring things into compliance for the better of
Second
all.
that, since you did make the motion.
Maybe I should keep the, or not, no, I'll second it.
So we have a motion by Commissioner Materi to, request bids on cleaning the Evenson property, seconded by Commissioner Everly. Is there any other discussion on that subject? I think the assumed deal is that we are going to follow the judgment, and the judgment is how we'll base it, kind of a bid. If they ask what they want, we'll give them the judgment, tell them what's there. Maybe give the rough explanation of any obviously valuable things, just be discretionary about them, don't just chuck everything, but.
And if a couple commissioners have to, they can go.
Well, right, I mean, we can work out the details with that, but I think, you know, cause
And carry and just go from there.
as far as discussion goes, I'll contact Jared again, is everybody fine with that, since
Who's Jared?
Jared Rice is the one that, I forget what his company's
Originally
originally,
from Napoleon.
from Napoleon, yeah.
Okay.
But he was the one that expressed interest before, I forget his company name, so it's not right to just say Jared, but anyway, he's got a company that does trailer rentals and they do scrapping and yard cleaning, and if I can think of anybody else, maybe we'll contact Arrow again, or maybe some of them other ones and see if there's any interest.
Their bid was over 20,000.
I know, and yeah, and Jared's was significantly less than that, I do remember that. But,
Arrow's high.
well, it's a big project and
They
they're
got
gonna,
a truck down and then there's
Yeah.
not a place locally to dump the stuff, so they gotta go back and forth.
kind of refreshing my memory was there was discussion on some of the items could probably go out to the pit out here, but,
North of town.
right, so we probably could utilize that pit for some things, which would save some money, but if not, then Jared's probably gonna have to haul it, probably to Bismarck.
Big commercial dump.
So I mean, you're gonna be, that's a lot of expense, so it's gonna be in the thousands of dollars, but, I'll contact him and just kinda go from there, and if he is interested and has bids, we'll submit him, and then we can make a decision from there, so.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second to, seek bids on cleaning the Emmons property. Any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Alright. Motion passes. Our next item would be the Linton Airport.
Yeah, I'm not gonna talk much about it, cause we've been over it several times, but, I'm just gonna voice my opinion on it. You know, it's a big project they're doing out there, it's the biggest airport in the county, it's the most used airport in the county. And, a deal where, just to help fund the project, I just think it benefits the whole county. And I think they were asking 120 for 2 years, well, okay. So I thought, I'll just make a motion, 30,000 towards the project, and if it goes anyplace, fine, but I think it's something that would benefit the whole county, and I'm just gonna make a motion for 30,000. We'll go from there.
Commissioner Hall makes a motion to, what's the proper term? Contribute or, allocate $30,000 to the Linton Airport
For the project.
for their upcoming project. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Not hearing any, the motion dies for lack of a second. I guess the only thing I would add, it's kind of been on my mind for a little bit, and I have talked to people, in town that would be in favor of it. It probably is a little more of a consistent path. And the Lytton City contracts with Emmons County for policing. It's the only city that does so, and we know why, and I'm not saying it's unfair or any of that, but fact of the matter is I think they're gonna be coming in anytime now, because I think our couple-year freeze period is ending. Generally, when they come in, we usually end up negotiating for less anyway. Rather than give money to the airport, do we wanna entertain the idea of just terminating the police contract or letting it expire and not renewing it? I believe that's somewhere in the neighborhood of $35,000 to $40,000 a year, right? Cause there's an equipment and then there's an actual contract.
Actual contract is $40,000 a year,
But 10 of those,
30,000 goes into the general budget,
yeah,
and 10,000 goes into a fund that my office has access to for equipment purposes, replacement of equipment, cars, things like that.
and the only reason I advocate for it is because it does kind of create consistency, because in my opinion, even though Hazelton and Strasburg and Hague and Braddock probably don't contribute a lot to the overall police need, you really should almost prorate it to a point if you're gonna charge one or have contracts with one. So,
Then Gary's job would be less here in town, you wouldn't have to go do all this stuff.
well, the enforcing the city ordinances would be that would be the uptick for the county, is that we wouldn't have to do those.
Right, and we wouldn't be enforcing the city ordinances any
Yes.
further without a contract. The whole purpose of this was when in 2013, when that took effect, was because they dissolved their police department. There was a lot of issues, a lot of complaints, liabilities. They were facing a lawsuit at that time. I think they settled one, was my understanding. And so they just wanted to get out from underneath that responsibility. So we went contract. I think the initial contract was close to
$90,000
something like
first
that. They were
originally.
spending, close to 150,
Yeah.
Back in
175,000.
2012 or
Yeah.
13, when it dissolved, it was like
Well,
$90,000
we-
to do the city
But
contract.
with that, for that, we were also guaranteeing them so much time in town, so many hours of patrol
Right.
time, so many officers living in town and so forth. Over the years, almost annually, that was being reduced.
Didn't we start out-
Where we're at today.
Didn't we start out at $70,000, and then we went down to,
It was actually higher than that.
It was like 90,000, and it was going down about 5 to 10,000 a year. It was getting renegotiated every year, and then I remember it was one of my first years as commissioner.
it took quite a bit.
They wanted to take quite a bit, and I said, that's fine, but we're not discussing it for like 5 years, and I think we put like a freeze on it, and it was,
We did a
and
5-year,
it's gotta be coming up,
I believe it's the end of this year.
it's gotta be.
So that was like for 35,000 or something like that, right? How much was this last contract for?
40,000 in the last 5 years, a 5-year block
Okay.
at 40,000 a year.
And it's 30,000 goes to the general fund, and then 10,000 was just for equipment, that's why the 30 and the 10, so it's 40,000, but it was kind of in 2 separate installments.
I mean, I think that helped out you as far as getting vehicles and everything.
Yeah, it offsets the cost of the vehicles. I mean, the 40,000 a year doesn't pay for a car, doesn't pay for a person, doesn't pay for much anymore. That's true. And again, we no longer, because that contract was negotiated down to where it is today, we no longer guarantee so many hours in town. What it all came down to is, when we started this contract, was what does the city council want for their community, for enforcement and for presence and visibility in the community, and so forth. But I mean, we still enforce any and all state laws. We just do not, if we don't have a contract, then we don't have the authority to enforce city ordinances. We don't have the authority in Hazelton or Strasburg or Braddock or Hague to enforce city ordinances. We don't have a contract with it. The contract allows us to enforce city ordinances. That parking issues, dog issues, the yard stuff. The city maintenance department takes care of the yard, policing the yard, whether somebody's yard is not being kept up and so forth. There's a notice that is sent to the property owner. You have 10 days or whatever days it is to fix it. If they're not in compliance to make that correction, then we can issue a citation for them to appear in municipal court for the violation of the city ordinance.
So that deal with Irvin Sanger there and his neighbor, that was not taken care of with the county?
No, that's strictly a city of Strasburg issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
But unless the city doesn't want to terminate that contract and still wants you to enforce their city ordinances, then maybe it's time to renegotiate anyway, but then I don't see it really probably going down much for the time you gotta put in, but if they want to terminate that and go forward, I mean, that's one way,
Yeah, it's gotten to
That's
the point
something.
where, we're busy with so many other things. And like I've expressed my opinion to the Lytton mayor too, my priority is crimes against people and property. The petty stuff, the parking stuff, yes, we'll address that, but it's not on the high priority thing. We'll drop what you're doing and make this thing here. And that's the biggest thing I think that the city is really concerned about, are those parking issues or dog issues and so forth. When they could hire their own enforcement officer. Hazelton could do it, Strasburg could do it, Linton could do it. The city of Steele did that after they were between city cops. They just hired an enforcement officer for city ordinances only. The mayor has the authority in any community to enforce those ordinances.
Well, that would be up to the city of Lynn to decide what they wanna do.
right, I guess I was
When
kind of
that-
putting it on the table, and I probably misspoke when I talked about prorating, cause you're right, it's only for the contracted cities, and they have a contract with us, but that's where, that's an avenue where if they're looking for funds from the county or something too, I mean,
That'd be one way to do it.
relinquishing that contract is a way to free up 40,000 a year, maybe they can do it cheaper by hiring their own person, and it's getting to the point where it's a dwindled down agreement where it's hardly even really in effect anymore. We're not getting the money that we probably need to truly do all the work. There's certain things we're not even doing anymore that we used to do 10 years ago, like there's certain things they're probably even trying to take care of themselves that they didn't right away when they had their own city cop and lost them, so I mean, if you wanna talk about funding the airport, giving $30,000-$40,000, there's an opportunity for them to do it. The only thing is they would lose their city ordinance enforcement, but like I said, they can probably get it done, or, I mean, I don't know, there's
The
probably
city
other
ordinance can
avenues.
still be enforced, they could have, the mayor could enforce them, or
Well, they wouldn't
hire
be
an
enforced by
enforcement
us for
officer, a
that.
civilian to do that.
Exactly, I guess I feel like that's an opportunity where there's a little bit of consistency, cause we're just not doing any of the cities, and then that's 40,000 that they could use towards their airport, they can enforce their own stuff with their own people instead of.
Well, I guess I didn't understand why they didn't have some kind of fundraiser or something. I know they took a certain amount of mills, and it was like $10,000, and I thought, well, what's $10,000 to the city of Linton? I mean, that's not a lot of money for all the people around.
Well, that's the value of their mill though,
Yeah, I
that's
know,
the thing.
but why didn't they have something else or something that, if they wanted to support their airport, you know?
Or did like Gary, do they have fundraisers?
Some kind of fundraiser thing?
But I mean, that's where, I mean, the one thing that came across my idea was there was $40,000 that no other city's really paying. I mean, in a way, it's almost kind of an extravagance for.
Earlier this morning, we discussed, the project here at the courthouse, the renovation project using ARPA funds. Every community, every county, every community got ARPA funds based on populations and other factors. I don't know what, it's all public knowledge, I don't know exactly what they got or what they did with that funding either, I don't know, but, no idea, no idea.
But you have no idea what Linton got on that ARPA fund?
You can get online and check, I just, off the top of my head, I don't recall.
Okay.
But,
Well, and I know they got several other projects like that paving
Right.
project and stuff too, so I'm sure they're.
Paving.
with the government entities, money is always an issue, funding is always, whether it's a county issue, a local city ordinance issue, or the state or the federal government, money is always an issue. I think my conversation, again, when it comes back to this thing here, when we're talking to the airport, he says, coming to the table late in the game was not beneficial to everybody here. I don't know when they became aware of the project stuff, but coming really, before we had already approved budgets and everything else was difficult for the county, to come in and allocate funds to budgets every year. Now we're just entering that budget cycle here in the very near future, probably within the next month, Marlo, correct? Yeah, it's 1 to 2 months, we're gonna enter that process of budgets. Now is the time to bring that up and not after budgets are done and completed. That was difficult. I mean, I had a conversation with the auditor, even some of the city, people here, that it's tough to make amends. You're talking, you didn't allocate these funds during the budget process and stuff.
Well, I guess it was just one other idea that I'd kind of thought of, I guess, so it's something they could maybe consider too, but then like you said, they that policing contract, but maybe that's something they want to sacrifice for that airport.
Well, I think myself, personally, I think the airport's an important factor. It's hard not to make that argument. It is important. It's a funding issue. And to stay up with the standards that have to be met to keep the federal funding coming and everything else, that's the thing. And I don't know what the answer is.
Well, we can recess for a couple minutes if you want. Okay. Anybody else got a problem with recessing for a couple minutes, and just taking a little break? All right. We'll be back in 5 minutes. We'll re-adjourn. So I think one thing that we did move past on the agenda that I guess we did forget was the resolution to shift the soon expiring 5 mil farm market federal aid road levy number 1212 to county road bridge fund levy number 1204. And then this is basically the language that would go on the ballot, right?
Joe, did you look over that resolution I sent you?
Yeah, I did.
Have any issues with it?
I didn't have any issues with it. I know you said you were gonna get the mileage and get back to me. I don't know if you.
I get that in there now, or I probably didn't include it. Okay, upkeep is 177 miles for the farm market road, that's what John previously had, and then I included, let's see. Did I include other towns? Oh yeah, and then like 1,191 road miles in the third paragraph. I filled those in, yeah.
Look good to me. See what the voters think.
So I mean, is it written up in a way that it doesn't look like we're asking for a raise or
Well, the way I read it is we're just moving money around, basically. The law would allow us to ask for another 5 on top of that, right, another 10, so 20 altogether. We're just asking for half of what we would be permitted to ask, I understand. And we'd just be asking basically for the voters to maintain the current mill level, correct? That's how I read it.
Yeah, I mean, the way I read it, it seems fairly plain, but I mean, we're also participating in this stuff a little more than the average, so maybe it's, you know, not that plain, but cause it says right here, decreasing the farm to market fund from 5 mils to 0 mils and increasing the county road and bridge levy from 10 mils to 15 mils. So basically it explains that one fund is getting zeroed out and the other one's getting additional funds. And the reason for it is the one fund is going away because it was created by statute, and now it's being eliminated by statute, so it's not gonna be a change in taxation at all, it's just a matter of paying it out of a different fund.
right?
I mean, that's about all you can explain to them really without advocating one way or the other. And I guess if people don't want those 5 mils to stay there, then it's a 5 mil cut in the budget and have to figure it out. I guess it is, it's roughly $200,000, give or take, I mean,
That's a lot of money.
significant, it's not, so.
So what do we need a motion on that?
Yeah, you'd need a motion to place it on the
To adopt the
ballot,
resolution.
you have to adopt the resolution basically, because it is, the resolution is stating to place it on the ballot, so you're just adopting a resolution unless you wanna make any changes to the wording, which I guess I don't see a problem with it, but.
And just to keep running it in the paper, just to educate the people, correct?
I
Before it comes to a vote.
have no idea what the best way to educate.
What is the best way? Is it just
You
complicated?
know, that'd be a question for maybe like the Association of Counties, do they have any kind of suggestion, or are they gonna advocate for it, I mean, cause the association could advocate for
Well,
it.
you know, I'll tell you that Emmons County is the only county in the state.
They voted it down, right?
Oh, the last time?
We were the last only county in the state.
Yeah, but.
County of Rebels, I guess, through and through, that's fine, but, yeah, I guess that's so.
They probably weren't really aware of what they were probably thinking.
Well, that's kind of what I was kind of told by some voters, they said, I didn't understand it, so I tried to put the measure to where they'd understand it. Logan County did a similar thing, is what I have on here, so.
Well, can you state that it's not a tax increase, or can't you do that, but then you're.
I mean, I don't feel like that's really
That's not swaying
advocating
the
though,
vote.
that's educating though, cause it isn't a tax increase, it's just that, it's the way government funding works, you know, the state legislature years ago created this fund because all the other funds were already capped out, or they didn't wanna increase the statute to increase the fund, but they created another fund so that way you could fund road projects a little easier, couldn't go for your courthouse or anything else, that's what the federal aid fund was for, right, a specific, had to be used on federal aid roads. Well, now they either already had created the sunset, or they created one later on, and that sunset is here now. But they are allowing us to increase the county road and bridge, which they probably didn't allow when they created the federal. You know, it's a matter of, it's the discussion of just timing and how things work and everything, it's got nothing to do with like, there's no scheme or nothing, it's just that they allowed this fund because they didn't wanna raise this fund. Well, then later after that, they did raise this fund. Well, you don't need this fund no more, you can just raise it in here. But they made the stipulation that you can't just do it, it's gotta get voted on. And that's basically the description of how it works. So the people have to just go, yeah, we want things to stay the same, then you vote for it. And if you still think you want the budget to get cut 5 mils more, then you vote no on it, I guess. And you see what happens if you take $200,000 away from road maintenance, I guess. I mean, that's basically sums it up. I don't know how you can, it's about as good as it gets, guys, sorry, I mean, if you wanna copyright that, fine. Any other way of describing it, you're gonna start advocating for something, either against it or it's not.
The only way she could do it is when you write out the ballot, put yes and yes, just like.
That would be a textbook example of advocating for it, just to be fair, just in case you guys were.
It's in here every day in the pen, right?
You'll be with you, when you talk, we gotta go with you.
It's on video.
Woman said, Timmy can come visit you guys, you know the job anyway, right? Okay, so anyway, back to the
I
discussion.
mean, you guys are thinking about it, we have one more month, we have to April 8th.
I have reason to think about it.
It seems cut and dry to me. I don't know how you make it any simpler without confusing one.
The state that voted this down.
I think it's just a word, the word is just gotta be.
Well, and I think there's probably a general confusion of just people feeling like it's a tax increase. I mean, even when you read it, you're just like, oh, wait, they're gonna increase this. They don't, it's kind of like if someone tells you, that's $100, you heard $100, you didn't hear it. Well, this is saying, well, we're gonna increase this 5 mils, but what they're not seeing is that we're taking 5 mils.
It's just that we're switching the mills from this to that.
He's an
But
elected.
you know, for example, it'd be like if you had separate checking accounts between you and your girlfriend, and you get married. And you close one checking account and put everything in the other checking account, with just one. That's about the best example of what this is. The money's really not changing anywhere, it's just going into a different account.
Yeah.
So,
I go with it. I think.
does anybody wanna make a motion to, adopt this?
I'll make a motion to adopt this measure and kind of make
Adopt the
it one.
resolution. Commissioner Hall makes a motion to adopt the resolution as written. Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Everly.
It's just, is this the way the word's just gonna be in there?
This would be it unless you wanna change it now, because if we adopt the resolution, then it's gonna be going on the ballot. So if you wanna make any changes, I mean, Marcy said we have a month.
Where it says Emmons County Measure Number 1, this is what I'm gonna put on the ballot.
Can you include any more verbiage addressing what the ballot consists of, or can't you, Joe?
Addressing what the ballot consists.
I mean, not the ballot, what it all states and what it all consists of, really. And that we were the only county in the state that voted no.
I think the more you add, the more likely
It
it
gets more,
gets.
well, that's what I was gonna say, it gets more confusing.
Right.
Well, it says right here though, with that measure one, it says, in summary, this will decrease the farm to market fund from 5 mils to 0 mils, and increase the county road and bridge levy from 10 mils to 5 mils.
Yeah, it does it
Yes,
right
there's
there.
not much.
I don't know how you
Yeah,
could
it
word
says it right
any
there.
different.
I mean-
Okay,
And hopefully people are watching this meeting, or maybe the paper will do a little write-up, maybe if people wanna contact you and ask for clarification, the auditor's office, anybody, if they're just like, I don't understand, feel free to reach out. I mean, be careful, obviously not to advocate one way or the other, but like I said, the joint checking account thing is about as good a way to describe it as any.
People don't understand, they automatically vote no.
Well, and I don't blame them for that, that's the way you should vote, but I think with this one, it just kinda has the feel of a tax increase, so people don't wanna vote for it, they're not realizing that the one budget fund is eliminated and the other one is just taking those funds
The
over.
only bad part, I mean, okay, it's, like you say, they feel it's a tax increase, but really, down the road, their taxes are gonna be increased, because we're gonna lose $200,000.
Yeah, right.
So we're gonna have to raise their taxes to come to make.
Well, or not provide the services, I mean, those are the two giveaway, you either don't have the money to do it, or you have to find the money somewhere else.
I think even if we wrote it in here and said, do you support raising the county road and bridge from 10 mils to 15 mils and didn't put anything else in there, they're gonna vote yes, because everyone comes in here and complains about the roads. And this is their chance to do something about it, or lose 200.
Or lose another 200 grand.
The way you have it here, you're actually saying it's not gonna change anything with regard to your taxes,
Yeah.
so. I would leave it the way it is.
I don't see you making any simpler, so.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second, is there any more discussion on it? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution adopted. Last item on the agenda was we were having a discussion with the recorder's office. Kathy, is there anything you wanted to add or anything? I know how it is when you leave the room and come back a couple hours later, you come up with different stuff, so is there anything just?
Yeah, I guess I was a little taken, I wasn't really expecting that this morning, and I didn't really have,
We did kind of spring it on you, I'm
Yeah.
not fair, it was kind of a. And
Yeah.
I'll just say it, I mean, the topic has always come up in the past, no matter what office, that when someone retires, do you have to replace them? Generally, it's always seemed like, well, that office had X amount of people, you kinda wanna keep it that way, but, you know, kinda, I think what Commissioner Materi was trying to explain too is, are there technological advances that maybe alleviate some of that to where you don't always have to have that full-time person for this said job or anything like that? And I guess that's kinda just, our job as commissioners is always to just evaluate and make sure that we're operating as efficiently as possible. It's not a discredit to your department or anything that you're doing or anything, but just, it's our jobs to just make sure that we're operating as efficiently as possible, and if we are, and that's the way that office needs to run, then, you know, if you've got other things to add to it, great, and if it is one of them things where we can try running a little bit on the leaner side, then maybe we need to explore that, so. That's kinda where we're coming from.
I get where you're coming from, I think, that at this point, I don't know that you could run with less people, because I don't know that the workload has dropped really, and we do a lot of different things, that I just don't think it's a wise choice to eliminate the full-time and put it at part-time. Now, I just don't see that would be, a wise move. We do a lot of other things. After, I went back to the office and I started looking, and like as far as recording documents, in 2022, we recorded over 1,000 documents. 23 was over 900. Also, there's other things we do, like there's we have to do all they're lien searches. These are people that aren't paying their taxes. They're 3 years behind in taxes, and so, come the spring, some of them possibly will be, the property will go back, so we have to go through and make sure none of them have any liens on them. So, not everything we do is just simply recording. Another thing is some things are harder to record than others. Like, we got this document, it's a statement of mineral interest. We got it in January. It had 394 entries. It took about 2 days to enter this into the system. So it's not just simply to say, there's less activity or whatever as far as selling and buying and stuff. There's other things we do. And I don't think it's a wise to try to go to part-time with somebody, because it seems like we can't even find someone qualified full-time. I don't know that part-time would do any good, and it wouldn't alleviate any stress or any workload off of the clerk side by making it less. That just doesn't make sense to me.
Can you bring the facts and numbers in writing to us to look at them?
I got a question. Kathy would know more than anybody in here what how our department or our office is running. Other staff people come in here and they request, I need a full-time. We don't question, I need record of how many hours you put in or this or that. And we go, okay, if you feel you need them, then go ahead and get them. I'm looking at Kathy feels she needs a full-time. I think we need to back her up because she knows more about if she would need a full-time person than what we would. We don't question other staff members. I don't know why we should be questioning her.
Thank you.
Well, I guess my point is, I think we should question all the offices, and not so much that,
But we don't.
well, I
Well, we
think
gotta
that's
start somewhere.
right, I mean, I think that's
Well,
kind of a
I
fair.
When do we want to start ever?
Yeah, but, you know, the road
I'm not
department,
picking on Kathy,
no,
don't
but
get me wrong.
the road department, we could've probably got by, you know, but we let him, you know, bring in 2 or 3 more people.
Well,
And we
did-
needed
we
them,
did
we
get by
needed
for,
them.
right, yeah, right.
But I'm just saying, you know.
Right, and I don't think this is a healthy discussion, and I don't think it's any kind of attack on Kathy, you're
No.
taking it that way, I'm sorry, that's not, the intent is that, you know, especially your office is a perfect example that, I mean, when I first became commissioner, those were probably the 3 most experienced people in the courthouse, between Brenda, Anita, and Karen, there was a ton of years of service there. And that office operated a similar way for years. As things change, and one thing I think this board, and I say this board isn't even the history of the board, is we aren't in the mood of being like, well, we need to cut an employee out of a department, you know? But as they retire, the evaluation just needs to be, are we doing everything we can, you know, is there an investment in technology that could maybe alleviate some of the full-time employment? But at the same time, these offices have also taken on more duties from 10 years ago. I mean, a good example is anything from Gary's office handling the 911 stuff and other things, it's not just the sheriff's department. Marlis is with the treasurer, then they got, you know, risk management and the DMV, and that, so even though the workload might have changed from one job or one title, they also inherited more duties because we have compacted the courthouse, and I think that's a good thing, and I think it's just always kind of our job to evaluate, rather than, as soon as someone leaves, it's like we're just putting the job up for hire right away. And I think there just needs to be some kind of maybe an evaluation process or something where it's not just, well, I need this person and that's the way it's gotta be, and so that's where our job as commissioners is to just to at least just look into it, and it's good even for you to come in and explain some of the things you're doing, because not all of us are perfectly in line with knowing what every office does day to day, all the time, and we have a general idea, but if anybody says they're an expert on the clerk or recorder's office, I'll call you a liar right here, so I think this is a healthy process to just come in, reevaluate the situation, and so we're not just filling these positions and maybe not knowing if that need is totally there, or if we can diversify the office, maybe we can merge the office, there's all kinds of possibilities that we need to be looking at, not only from an efficiency standpoint in the courthouse, but even just accountability to the taxpayers, so we're not just filling positions and you know, paying whether we need them or not. So it's not an insult, it's not, nobody's trying to come at you or your office or anything like that. You just happen to be the office that is currently hiring and trying to fill a position that we just had questions about more than anything, so.
I don't know, well, Marlis too, you took on a lot more role than you ever bargained for too, over the years, haven't you?
Well, you had the merger for social services and all those different things that, you know, if we wouldn't have had that, maybe that office could have shifted some labor, but yeah, and no different than Kathy's office, the duties she has now, Anita probably didn't have 10 or 15 years ago, so even though there's less work maybe in one particular, the recording might not be as crazy, but the clerk's thing has gotten way more diverse or way more complicated, and so I understand that, and that's why we need to have these discussions, is just to make sure that we're on top of it the best we can. We ran lean in the sheriff's department and the road department, it was a disaster, everybody knew it. And it was good to try running lean a little bit to recognize the disaster too. It's not the end of the world to be a little short-handed. I'm not advocating you have to do that all the time, or even in this situation, but it was good to see the need of doing that. And now
Sometimes
it's-
you learn more that way.
Right, and that's where, I mean, so I'm just trying to clarify too, though, that this isn't any kind of a personal attack. It just happens that your department is the department that you're in a phase where you're trying to hire people, and you know, maybe we don't need to hire that person. If we do, we need to know why or be convinced. I mean, it's kind of part of the process. Just rubber stamping is not a good way to run a government, so.
I would like to add also, just having 2 people in that department where there's so much to learn is living on the edge, I think. Because if something happens to one of you, and Robin doesn't have the experience yet, you need to get somebody in there too to learn that. And I don't know when you're gonna retire, I don't have any idea. Hopefully you're healthy when you do.
But yeah, well, I mean, I don't
Not
disagree
thinking
with
it
that.
like that.
But that's why we're just having the discussion. I mean,
Just discussion.
I feel more educated on the topic now than I did 12 hours ago even, and that's our job as commissioners, and I mean, to be fair, the department has always ran with 3 people. Never really had an abundance of complaints on it, so I mean, that's where it's worth going is it needed or not, it needs to be explored, so.
Well, yeah, I think we just need to put the brakes on and get numbers on it. You just came in, you said in 2022 there were 1,000 documents, correct? And we have 52 weeks in a year, right? That's 19 documents per. If you divide that by 52 weeks, 1,000 documents, how many documents do you have per day?
Well, I don't know what it comes to, but my point is that's not all we do. You know, that's the thing is, and I will say this, and that really, you hit it on the head. Nobody knows what goes on in that clerk's office in this, they don't. They think they do, they've been here a long time, they say things, but there's so much in there that nobody knows what's happening. And part of it is because those three gals were in there for so long, they just did their thing and no one knew it. You know, I ask people and they'll say, you know, that they do, or they think, but the diversity that we do in that department, both the clerk and the recorder, people don't understand.
Can I ask you this, Kathy, like the ones that were here before, like Karen and what was her name, Ibach?
Anita.
Anita, what was her name, Ibach, that was in the recording?
Brenda?
Oh,
Did
Brent,
she go into where Karen was at and Karen go into where Ibach was at? Could they crisscross when they were
No.
gone?
they,
Why didn't they learn and take the effort to learn?
I don't know. I wasn't here, I don't know. That never happened. Anita was able, as the clerk, Anita, and the recorder, Anita was able to cover both positions.
Because she wanted to learn that.
Because, and
She
I'm,
was in charge.
Well, it was
She
her
was in
job,
charge.
I mean, she was elected to do it too, though. I mean,
you know,
that's-
and I felt, and she did, and she could do it. In fact, when I came, she's the one that taught me on the recorder. Brenda was only here a few days before she retired. And, Anita did most of what Anita did was the administrative part and helped with the clerk side because of the diversity there. Brenda was very, you know, very capable to do her job and she did the recording. They didn't cross-train. I have suspicions on why that was, but I don't know. I wasn't here. Like you say, I don't think that's necessarily a good idea.
Well, I think the last thing we want is you to be totally stressed out that you can't handle it anymore and you quit, then we have nothing, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
That too.
Exactly.
Well, and the other thing too is we gotta make sure these departments are doing their job and
Yeah,
doing them well too,
Yeah.
so that, I mean, that's all part of the discussion, so I mean, I don't think there's anything bad about discussing this.
Well, I don't think so,
No,
but it seems like Kathy's probably taking it a little personal.
Well, it probably seems like an assault, and that's what I'm trying to relay to her, it's not, it really, what it is it's a little bit of a, probably an assault on the commissioners, that we need to just be doing our jobs, which is to constantly be evaluating these departments too, we don't need to oversee every little thing they do all the time on everything, but I mean, we kinda hit that realization with the sheriff's department and the road department, like I said, we kinda were like, is it the worst thing in the world that we're one or two short? We'll see how it goes, well, we seen how it went and we got yelled at a lot, it was hard, and it's hard on the other employees when you don't staff it properly, and if staffing this office properly is to have 3 people, and that's the discussion, and that's the consensus, that's fine, but that discussion still needs to be had, that's the big thing, and it needs to be had with all departments, when Joe or Amy have an issue with state's attorney, or one of them leaves, or there's a workload issue, we need to evaluate whether or not they need more help, or something can be streamlined, it's kind of all part of it, and I don't know if we've done enough of due diligence with that to just make sure that we're all on the same page, we understand the departments, understand some of their workflow, and that's something that we all need to get better at it, I
I
guess.
just don't want her to think that, okay, we were only gonna hire 2 and then tomorrow she's gonna be all stressed out and quit. We don't want that, you know?
Right, well, I mean, I think that just, you know, kind of the decision is gonna be basically,
We got a right to take a look at all
Well,
these
yeah, we do,
departments.
yeah, I'm not saying we don't, but I'm just saying,
My God.
right, well, and to agree with Materia on that, you gotta start somewhere, just so happen that this is the office to start with, so a lot of departments are departments of one, so it's kinda hard to staff them.
We gotta start somewhere, you know, you say we don't, but where, we gotta start somewhere.
Right, no, it's
Just to
our
continue
right to
Yeah.
ask, you know, you ask her, but in my opinion, if she really thinks she needs a full-time, you know, I think you should go with it. If she thinks, oh, maybe, she can think back, oh, maybe I can get by with a part-time, but,
Well,
Why don't we try a part?
I think she would know
Well, I think the conversation needs to be had sometimes too, where we need to relay an expectation too, and then what I'm saying by that is not that, I mean, you obviously want a full-time employee, I'm not taking anything away from that, but I think sometimes there's times where people are like, well, we've always had a full-time employee, so I'm gonna hire a full-time employee, not realizing that we're also of the mind that if you evaluate your own department and realize that, hey, well, I could get by with a part-time person, and you hired a part-time person, I don't think anybody here would mind that. Just so you at least understand that too, because maybe the expectation is, you gotta keep doing what we've always done, because the commissioners didn't say nothing and nobody's really arguing, and that's the way we need to do it. So even the department heads to that point, if you feel like maybe you're overstaffed to the point where it's like, I don't really wanna hire another person, we could get by with what we have, I don't think the commissioners have a problem with that too, and I think we need to relay that message also. So if you think you need a full-time person, and the commissioners don't disagree with it, which I will say, that office has always ran with that many people, it's budgeted for that many people, I don't see a problem with it, but it definitely needs to get evaluated.
Like you said, maybe if you got the numbers, see what the numbers are.
I'd like to see the numbers, I'd like to speak to other courthouse clerks.
And the,
Or in
Clerks
Register
or
of Deeds,
recorders?
in the Register of Deeds recorder,
and the other
and
thing,
take a look at their numbers and their staffing.
if
And
you,
go back X number of years and see, I'm nothing on you, Kathy, nothing. And I think you're taking it personal, but that's irrelevant, if you're taking it personal, I'm sorry.
if you had two,
But,
if you had two really experienced people, you and somebody else that was really experienced, could it be handled then with two people? You know?
I don't know. You know, I think you could limp along, maybe, but I don't think it would do the job well. And I don't think it would work long-term.
I think when you get down to two people, if one gets sick or one leaves, then you're in a world of hurt. And you're gonna have a hard time training somebody that quick.
Well, and especially because it's an office with multiple duties, so it's not like, well, we can handle the recorder stuff, but then a clerk of courts thing comes up and something, and like you said, it just,
Well, that's why I
It can
said she
be-
had
right.
somebody else that was totally experienced with all the other.
and I think Anita's situation was that she could do both jobs, so she had one person in her office that did each job well, and she could do them both, to either fill in, assist, if they were behind, you technically had two employees for each of the thing, which I'm assuming is kind of where you wanna be, but just, you would basically just have 3 people in your office who could do everything, so at any time. you could
I don't
have-
really think that we would ever get to a point where all 3 people could do everything.
Mhm.
I just don't think realistically you would get to that point. My hope is that we can train one person strong on the recorder side and really have them efficient on that side, and the other one more so on the clerk side, but that there's some flow back and forth. And there hasn't been to a great degree before that. And honestly, I don't see that happening for a long time. Like any type of real cross-training, I don't see that happening for a long time. Just because of the amount that each department needs to know. To be proficient in your department, it just, I can't see that it will
And
happen.
especially on
anytime
the
soon.
clerk side though, right? I mean, the clerk side is just
There's
because
there's so much more variety on the clerk side.
And you kind of stated before that the recording side maybe has some more resources, maybe a little bit more training, where the
Yeah.
clerks thing is kind of an experience thing, right? I mean, you kind of have to go through some of it and learn it that way.
You
I mean,
kinda
Is
do.
that fair?
Yeah, and there's so much, the diversity, there's so many more job duties on the clerk side. The recorder maybe has more of the same stuff, you know, but the clerk has got, 50 different things. So, I guess, long-term, that's my thought, is to cross-train people. And simple things like, if somebody comes in and they wanna make a payment on a criminal fine, and the person that is in the clerk on the clerk, or deputy clerk, isn't there or whatever, then the recorder could come in and would be able to do that, be able to make the payment. So when someone comes in, we don't say, I'm sorry, there's no one here to take your payment. It was more that's more my line of thinking than have everybody do everything. That's a disaster. I mean, then nobody's good at anything. Jack of all trades, master of none, you know? Yeah.
There's 5 of them up here, so you gotta watch out with that.
Yeah.
I like to say that, like, I know nothing about the clerk of court side, but when Brenda was here, you know, I think you averaged 19, 20 documents a week you cleared out.
Yeah.
She was always busy. I've never seen her play Candyland or Candy Crush, whatever it's called. She was, you know, there's always public requests coming in. She was always looking up in the index books, easements, driveways, liens. I think she helped with payments too, or she was scanning, like she started doing the digital scanning. She was always
Well,
doing
that's
something.
that's the next thing. You know, the hope was that they could get some of that, that money and have all our documents scanned in. You know, I looked and, you know, we have documents that are 140 years old. And they were, you know, before the state was a state. And it's on microfiche in, place in Kansas. But if something ever happens to those documents, they're not scanned in. And, many counties have scanned in all their documents, you know, and it's a huge event and a huge thing to have done. But Brenda was doing some of that where back scanning, especially the deeds, and that's where we're, you know, trying to scan those old deeds in. So if you ever do get to a point where you are caught up on everything, you can always back scan. There's 140 years to back scan. It's not gonna happen.
And that's to try and get all our documents basically online,
Unfish.
or at least, you know, so we can
Digitized.
access them through the network instead of going and digging them up.
Yeah.
A lot of the oil counties run title by.
Right.
A lot of the oil companies have done that, you know, and it's
I've done
a
it
huge
too.
expense. It's a huge expense to have them done because companies come in and my understanding, they do it on site, but they come in and they scan all the documents in and then you need to have somebody go and enter once the copy is digitized on there, then they need to enter the information off of it.
And I
needs
don't
to be
foresee it
recorded.
happening in this county, just because of the fact of lack of revenue. These oil counties, it's a totally different ballgame.
They got the money
They
there.
got the revenue to do it.
You mean hire it out,
You gotta hire it out and pay the due.
Right, and to a point, we can scan some of those in, but we get to a point where some of those old books, as we're set up now, it's not feasible, we can't scan those old ones in. They're too big, they're bound, it's,
It's a hassle running title when you got a broken deal. You got some on hard copy, some on microfiche. It's a pain in the tail to run title.
yeah. Well, and, yeah,
It
they're,
is, I've done it. I've done it
well,
for years.
and like all of ours are hard copies or digitized.
You know,
You know, but anyway, that, like, you know, like,
your
Josh
receipt,
was saying, is, there's always something to do. It's not like you're sitting around playing games. If you do get to a point where you are caught up on things, you can always backscan, always.
your reception book is no longer hard copy, is it? It's printed in, right?
No, we
It's
don't
on the
do,
computer from a certain point on. Okay.
we have, yeah, from a certain point, all our documents are only digitized. Some of them are both, but from a point on, I forget the day, they're all digitized.
Some are both. Okay. Why did they do that?
Because, to a point, they would scan them in and then they would keep a copy in there. And then they got to a point where they quit keeping copies and they just digitized them. And like I was saying, some of the old ones, we scan them in and then we don't destroy the paper document that we have. It's digitized, but we also have the paper. I guess I don't really see the need to destroy it. I mean,
I would,
I-
but it can be cataloged differently since you know you have it online now.
Yeah.
It can be more probably in a storage basis rather than actually having it out in the open, so. Yeah, well,
but yeah,
I mean, I guess does any of the commissioners have any opinions on, you know, filling that position or not? Should we do any changes or should we just keep things as they are, or does anybody wanna make any motions, or? Cause if not, I mean, I feel like we've grilled Kathy enough on the subject, so. Let's say if there's no motions, we'd probably just continue as we are, so.
I'd like to make a motion to just table it temporarily, and I'd like to see in different courthouses what they've got for documents. We've got 19 documents per week, if I do this math right. From 22, you said 1,000 documents, 52 weeks, that's 19 documents per week. I'd just like to see what other courthouses have
Right,
for a comparison, and a healthy comparison, you know?
Okay.
Nothing against you, Cap,
Yep.
nothing.
but and I get what you're saying, but I just really wanna emphasize is that there's just more to the position than
realize
just that.
I realize that, Kathy, I do.
Well, Commissioner Materi's made a motion to, either table the hiring of a
Full-time status.
full-time person in the clerk recorder's office. Is there a second to that motion?
So how long would that be, another month? Right, so how long, when was your deadline for your
Well,
deal?
wait, we got a motion,
Okay,
so if we wanna discuss it, we either need to second the motion or allow it to die for lack of a second, so. Is there a second to Commissioner Materi's motion to table the hiring of a full-time?
Not indefinitely,
Yep.
just so we can get some
Do
numbers.
you wanna put a timeline on that for sake of the motion? 30 days, 60 days,
Give
90 days?
60, give 60 days,
60 days, okay,
should be
so
fair.
included in that motion would be a 60-day tabling of, is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to that motion? Is there
I
a second?
guess I would second it just for,
Second by Commissioner Everly, we're now in discussion, so,
okay, now I was gonna ask, when do you get, how long you got your thing open?
Friday.
Friday.
But I put in there that, you know, the applications are due Friday, and it'll be open until filled.
Oh, okay.
So do you have an applicant already?
I have one applicant.
Yeah, you
Well,
have, no.
I haven't interviewed them yet, no.
So you know if they have any experience at all?
Not in the recording, I don't see it in the recording.
And that's what you need, right?
Yep.
What exactly is the plan if someone were to get sick, maybe the other person's on vacation? And the judge comes down and orders you guys to have an order to show cause for why you're not giving them enough resources to do their job?
I'm not trying to cut resources, I'm just trying to weigh things out. And I know this is a bad thing because they lost 2 full-time employees.
I'm just making sure, because I'm pretty confident you're gonna hire a third full-time staff for that office, but what I don't know is whether you're gonna do it voluntarily, or it's gonna be after a judge gets involved, because the clerk's office isn't able to keep up, or it's gonna be after a bank gets involved, because they have some sort of damages because the recording side's not being efficient. And so, I might as well warn you now. It'll happen, we'll just see which way it goes. It's 60 days.
Well, I'll tell you, and, you know, Robin's been there 5 months, and we've been, training her, and so if we hire someone, even if we do interviews next week, we hire someone, they start April, May, June, July, August, 5 months before they have any, you know, and then Robin goes on maternity leave, and what are we gonna do? Then we're gonna sit there, and as if we go now, I'm not gonna be able to take a day off until November, when Robin gets back.
What is Robin think?
She's planning on her maternity leave in September,
Oh, I didn't.
August and September. So, I mean, it's just like, I'm not just gonna continue like this. It's, yeah.
okay, is there any more discussion? We have a motion and a second. Probably be best to do a roll call vote for this, so Marlis, will you call the roll?
Everly,
No.
Holm,
No.
Magrum,
No.
Materi,
Yes.
Miller,
No.
Motion denied. So I guess, like I said before, unless somebody wants to take any further actions, they would probably just proceed.
The only thing I would, you know, like Materi said, if you could get the numbers, just see what they would be or something like that. I mean, if you need help, I don't have nothing.
we need help, get it somewhere else, because Donnie doesn't know how to help you. Thanks for the offer, Don.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that, you know, I mean, if she can't, if she,
I guess just in defense of the numbers or whatever, you know, even, whether it's 1,000 documents over a certain amount of time, that is only specific to those documents, that isn't specific to other things that are going on in the meantime, so. And not every document is created equally, so it's hard to say that just because there's X amount of documents per day, that takes the same amount of time every day. And
Because
that's
every
where I think
document is
just,
different.
yeah, so I mean, just the evaluation of it, you know, is probably getting a little bit in the weeds. I think the question is just whether or not, you know, that office needs to continue the way it is, and I really don't see a problem with it continuing the way it is, but it just definitely needed to get evaluated. I feel like we've evaluated it, and every office can be evaluated as we see fit, and
I don't disagree either, it's just, you know, like, that's why I asked you, do you know if this person had a lot of experience? I mean, if you find somebody with a good experience, it's probably gonna help you out a lot, you know? But if you don't find anybody with experience, that's just gonna drag you down some more.
Yeah,
well, and I would advocate one other thing is usually, I feel like the departments in Emmons County are trying to run as efficiently as possible, seem to be like-minded people. One thing I do know, especially even like with my business, you start to master things or get good, there's lots of things you don't even try because you don't even have time to do. Maybe there's other opportunities that our recorder's office or clerk can even do. If you somehow got to the point where you had 3 really experienced people who are doing everything they need to and still looking for work, there's probably other roles within their office that they don't even entertain because they've always been too busy or something.
Yep.
So there's all kinds of options like that, and I
Yep.
think just as long as that stuff's always getting explored and talked about, I don't really see a problem with it, so.
Well, you can record and clerk, can you not? Both sides.
yeah.
Good.
Okay. You got anything else, Kat?
I just have one thing, and I'm not really sure how, or 2 things. The state showed up one day with a new TV for us, and,
I didn't even notice that.
yeah, it's a new one.
There
And
was
the-
one there before. Right?
Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, and it's our TV, and it was taken down, and we can do whatever we want with it. So I'm not sure if I should just put it out and sell it, or I don't know what I should do with it. It's a plasma, so it's, you know, it's dated, but I don't know if the commissioner need to make a statement on that, or if I can just do whatever, or I don't know what my
I
role
think
is
something that
there.
would have to go out on bids probably,
They
right?
would.
Is the proper, I mean, unless there's another department that needs to.
Do you know what it's worth about? I would just.
I have no idea.
They brought this TV down for you guys,
The state got it.
Yeah.
this one here?
There
That's,
used to be a TV there, I didn't even notice that they replaced it with it.
it's a little bigger one.
Yeah.
The other one is 55 and this is 72 or
Oh,
something.
so the old one, you,
Yeah, I have the old one in the office. And then also, we have a copier, we got a grant, and we got a new copier last week, and the old one is absolutely fine. It's just getting old, and the contract was getting, you know, it goes up every year when the older you get, and I got a grant for 75% of it, so I got a new copier. That also is sitting in my back room. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that copier.
They didn't trade it in.
No, they wouldn't take a
It
trade
was
in.
too old or something, right? Cause I remember when
Yeah.
you filled the paperwork out for
Yep.
that and I signed it,
Yep.
so.
They wouldn't trade it, they would have taken it away, but they were just throwing it.
I don't think they really even wanted to service it anymore because it was getting so old and that was part of the service contract was going up every year on it, it was becoming obsolete. And
Yeah.
yeah, the state clerks, or state courts had a
Yep,
grant.
indigent defense
Well, yeah, you
program,
could just,
I would
Let's say
want
put
the
it in the
company to
bids.
see what they think that printer is worth.
the copier,
And, yeah, and then also find out what you think the TV is worth, call
Okay.
Best Buy or whoever,
okay,
and put it on Emmons County.
is that what it's worth?
Yeah, those old TVs are probably 25, 50 max.
$50, right?
You can get
Okay,
replaced in-
Yeah, find out what the printer's worth and then put $50 in the TV and have Mary Sanger put it on the Emmons County Facebook page, start there.
okay,
you don't have to put that out for bids, I suppose it's under a certain
No,
amount or
this is
something.
underneath, is it
Okay.
right, Joe?
I believe you're correct. I don't remember the threshold for personal property items, but I'm sure that TV's under it. It's,
Yeah.
TVs nowadays are just not worth
They're
it.
a dime a dozen.
You don't have to put it on bids, you can put a price or best offer and sell it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just talk to Mary and have her just
She
put it
can
on.
put it, we'll
Okay.
try it on Facebook.
Okay,
Put those pictures on too.
Pardon?
Put those pictures on too.
Oh, yeah. Never know.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think you can just handle that with Mary and Marlis
Okay.
and get that.
okay,
so the
I
numbers-
just didn't know that.
Yeah.
What I was supposed to do, but
Alright,
that's all.
well, thanks Kathy.
Thank you.
And this Friday interview? You interview?
No, close this
The
Friday.
close is Friday,
She's gonna keep it open until she,
Until
she
we
wants
find
to
somebody.
interview, so.
and if I only have one person, we'll see. The thing with that position is, it's not that hard, but some people find the aspect of the land descriptions very difficult.
They struggle.
Some people just, they can be really smart people and they just struggle with the land description. Sometimes that's just a real hurdle for some people to get over, and other people, it's not a problem at all. So, you know, depending on what this person is like and whatever, I don't know, you know, I don't know, we'll see.
Well, we need to move on, guys,
Okay.
so,
Okay,
thank you Kathy.
Thank you.
So the first item on the, since that is all the agenda items, the first item up is gonna be the, city council meeting in Foster County, March 12th, 2024, at 10 a.m. at the Cleveland in Carrington.
If you're gonna attend, can you let me know, so I can let her know?
You can put me down. If I can't go, I'll cancel out. Haven't been to the Chieftain for a while.
I've done that.
You haven't been to the Chieftain?
Greg, you're going?
I've only been there once. If I can make it, you wanna ride together, Greg?
You're good.
Are you going, Marlis?
You know, I've been so much to do, I got my election conference the rest of this week, I'm just.
What day is it on?
It's a Tuesday, so it'll be a week from now.
I might just skip this one.
You gotta be.
Boy, at 10 a.m., we'd have to leave here by about 8 though, huh?
Yeah.
Cause man, it's gotta be 2 hours to Carrington.
That's all.
And we could ask them what they do in other counties for folks.
I know there's a difference in people, and I know it's a pretty controversial deal, because a lot of people struggle, but then they shouldn't be in those departments, because they can't read a legal description. They shouldn't be there,
Well, anyway,
and it's all hinged on
yep.
the person that's there.
Yeah.
Anybody else gonna attend the 6th county meeting? If not, if you change your mind, let Marlis know.
There's 3 I have to go, so you get one more than I have to go.
Okay.
And
Well, me and Craig will almost just talk about everybody on the way up there, it's a 2-hour drive.
We'll nominate somebody for something.
Take notes.
We'll put it on speakerphone if you guys wanna hear it.
Yeah.
Not like
I
we're-
think we should get that tracking in that vehicle.
Yeah, there you go, I don't
Make
know.
sure they don't stop someplace.
Yeah, it's gonna it'll end up in the ditch by President if it's in my bill. Okay, next item,
Personal vehicle.
next item will be, tax abatement for parcel number 53-0002-00123-000 for tax year 2023.
That is a home confession, so we can do that.
I'll make a motion for that.
Commissioner Everly makes a motion to approve the tax abatement for said parcel. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Miller. Any more discussion on tax abatement? Not hearing any. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abatement approved. Next will be a building permit for Anthony Pond to add a 10 by 20 lean-to addition to the west side of existing structure of Auditor Lot A, Section 2, Township 136, Range 78.
Adding the lean-to on the west side of the house, its setbacks are good, it's way in the yard, 300-400 feet away from anything, so.
Dang it, I almost needed Burley to be working on
Yes.
that one. Oh,
It's
it's
right
right.
on the phone. Yeah.
Wow, okay. So everything checks out, Josh?
Yep.
Okay. Motion to approve, table, or deny the building permit for Anthony LaPond. Motion to approve, table, or deny?
A motion to approve
Commissioner Miller makes a motion to approve building permit, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Commissioner Materi, is there any more discussion on the building permit for Anthony LeBond? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Building permit approved. Next item is a building permit for Bob Kramer to replace metal on existing pole barn located on Lot B of southeast quarter of Section 18, Township 132, Range 76.
They gotta get a building permit, put one out there by the golf course. Right?
Yeah, I don't know, this just came
No.
yesterday, I didn't look at these,
This is
cause.
Bobby Kramer.
This is,
This
Oh,
is
83.
Oh, it's off the top there.
yeah,
Oh, I was gonna say, I didn't think there was one.
the
out
other
there.
Bobby Kramer, right? Three of them?
Yeah, there's two of them.
Sorry.
There's one, yeah.
I mean, they need a building permit just to replace them all.
Yeah, it's over $2,000.
Legally, you need to get one.
You said they're really dumb.
Yeah, Don.
Hey, that reminds me that Kenny was calling about a culvert permit.
Yep, I gave it to Skylar.
It's not on here, is it?
You guys usually don't.
We haven't been reading over, usually we always lean down the road with the superintendent anyway, so. Okay, there's no issues with it, it's just replacing metal, right, no structure.
yeah, I don't look at replacements or remodeling, so.
Shouldn't be an issue. Motion to approve, table, or deny the building permit for,
I'll make a motion to approve it.
motion to approve by Commissioner Holmes, or second to that motion?
Yeah.
Second by Commissioner Miller, any more discussion on building permit for Bob Kramer, Robert Kramer, Bobby Kramer? Any and all? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Building permit approved. Next is building permit for Kyle and Sarah Miller to construct a 40 by 80 pole building on the northeast quarter of the northeast quarter of Section 10, Township 132, Range 79.
Hold on a second.
Just keep quiet.
Where's that at? Is that down by Hayes?
Hold on a second, hold on.
Where's
It
it?
is.
It's out by the,
Here. Rick.
Yeah, so the water treatment plant, you just go straight south, they got a trail and a bunch of campers out there, but he's letting it pull. Setback's good from that back line, but, yeah, so I didn't see any issues. Yeah, this, right here's the water treatment plant, right there.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Everly makes a motion to approve building permit for Kyle and Sarah Miller, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Miller. There's no conflict of interest in there, is there? Ron Miller's? Is there any more discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Building permit approved. Next is tax abatement for parcel 52-0012-00720-000 for the tax year 2023.
homestead.
Looks like a homestead credit. Looks like everything's fine.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Holmes, or second on the motion? Second by Commissioner Everly, discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Payment approved. And that is the,
There's a
You got
plan.
one.
Oh, yeah.
okay, that was kind of tucked in there, where the spacing was, I thought, okay. So it's a plat for Outlaw A, located within the southwest quarter of Section 26, Township 130, Range 77, 5th Principal Meridian, Emmons County.
They're just creating a lot around their yard, a 10-acre lot. Very simple, everything.
Where's
Yeah.
It says Pole and
That's-
Beak here on them,
They
so.
live, that's by, Chad Vanderlaan,
Is that that old parcel of land to the south?
southwest of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On those trees he's driving.
Yeah, it's flat out that,
Pole and Beak's farmyard.
Yeah.
oh,
Well, this is to the south, is it?
Chad?
What he wants to do right in the yard?
Yeah, he's got the whole yard. It's a 10-acre flat he's creating.
And he's just
So,
parceling out.
Flat.
It's over the acreage limit.
Everything looks
Big
good.
deal. Looks kosher, so. Okay, motion to approve, table, or deny the, plat, Paul Van Dyke. Motion to approve, table, or deny?
I move to approve it.
Commissioner Miller makes a motion to approve, is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Materi, discussion of plat, Paul Van Dyke. Not hearing any, all those in favor say aye. Opposed? Approved. That is the end of the agenda items.
Did you make a decision on whether or not
No,
table it?
I think we tabled it. Did we officially make a motion to table it? Or-
Tables, and also was added to the old and unfinished.
Yeah,
business
okay.
minutes. And you guys, somebody's gonna talk to Joe.
That's what we do. We don't need to discuss it.
I think probably just got to do a little more research and then maybe we'll want to do, maybe talk to King again or something. See if there's any other options or something, or see what the little plan would be or something. So I guess the bills are the only thing left. You need to sign some stuff. Let's see.
What's your explain? They must be using 22. They must be using 22s. I can't hear you. Sheriff must have bought 22. These are pretty cool.
Presidential caucus yesterday. I was working up in Bismarck, I totally forgot what was going on, so I went up there. That BSC Center of Energy Excellence or whatever, that's a nice building.
Yeah.
That is a nice building. Then they're building behind it, they're building that Technical Institute. I haven't seen any of that, man. That whole place, there's just construction everywhere.
It was, what was it?
The BSC campus, it was up at that Center of Energy Excellence.
That's,
It was the Republican Presidential Caucus. I swung in there, I hadn't voted since like 2012, so.
Yeah, we got the person. I mean,
Oh, no, there's four. It's Trump, Haley, and then two names I'd never heard of.
yeah.
Today's today, right?
Well, today is Super Tuesday, yesterday was.
This is a big day.
Well, yeah, I think there's like 13 states that do their primaries and caucuses today, so.
Taylor should drop out after today.
It's pretty good, did what they did.
Kind of cool about in that caucus thing though, and then they had like Bergman had a speech and, a few other people, they had on their huge screen or whatever. Food and booze and all that, the presidential caucus yesterday at the BSC. I was working in Bismarck, I totally forgot about it. Oh, yeah, that's it. We're not all retired, right? Keep riveting. No, 'cause I was even thinking, I'm like, I'll never make it to that deal, and I was working, doing remodel. Time is it? It's 5:15, like, the deal's from 5 to 8, I got going up there, so I went up there, I was feeling.
With their luck.
Well, they said 2,000 people voted in it, 250, 300 people there maybe, and everybody was kind of milling in and out, because some people voted and left, some people stayed, hung out for the speeches, and then, Josh Gallion had a room next door where he did his announcement with Kevin Kramer, and said, oh, I don't know, neat little bit. I went to it, Bergen, he's not there, he wasn't in Bismarck, he was at the, they had one in Jamestown, I think they had one in Dickinson, one in Fargo, that had been pretty much all the city really. So yeah, it wasn't 2,000 people voting in Bismarck, it was 2,000 statewide, so it was maybe a couple hundred, I suppose, in each town, but. I remember going to that one,
They could go step on the Democratic side.
Oh, yeah, I don't know,
who?
lady, that lady, one that's taking Bergen's place.
Oh, Miller?
No,
Oh, her name.
Obama's little sweetheart. Who? Obama's little sweetheart.
Oh, Michelle Obama?
Oh, Mikey.
No comment, Commissioner Terry.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, wait, what am I looking at? There's nothing this on here. It's just a sheet.
Well, I wonder if Haley will round up.
I
There's a
think,
lot of money behind that deal, boy.
most of them are Democrats. I think probably not.
Huh?
You give a lot of Democrats.
No doubt.
There's plenty of Republicans that don't like Donald Trump either, though, that's,
Oh, yeah.
is there enough to,
Smoking.
stop him? Probably not. Seems like he's winning pretty decidedly in a lot of places, so. It'd be tough to beat.
They did a nice place in a lot of bridge, over that face to the building. Circle H.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he did.
Speaking of election, I'm gonna be out till Friday, election conference. All the software.
Oh, all new software for a big presidential election, what do you know?
Well, not all new, just some of it.
You know why conspiracy theories exist? Because they always do stuff like that.
They quit one company where we order the ballots into another one, and there's software things we need to do.
But seriously, you're possibly looking a pretty good chance at a Biden-Trump rematch. Now, there's gonna be software changes to the election, and nobody's supposed to think any, like, I mean, whether you believe the election was rigged or not or whatever, I'm just saying, like, there's always events like this where you're like, why didn't that get handled? Like, now it's, we're gonna train everybody in right before the
It's
election.
just where we order our ballots into software.
I know, but it's like,
They went to a different company, that's all.
You would be big to Comstock.
I think we could easily do our own elections, just drive them up to the Capitol.
Yeah, we have to have it.
What was this in Comstock? They already paid $32,000 before it was even green lighted.
Well, there was a voucher that came through here.
Well, they submitted an invoice, I guess we
It
would
did
have
work for us,
had to
though.
pay it, I suppose, but.
They're the project manager, so they did all this work for us already.
Basically, the work they did on that is to make it so it's bid ready, and I think the bids can go out anytime, they prepare all that, so. Basically. Yeah,
Yeah, they did little bit off with it.
He might have forward. I just left it.
Race Lake open, is it still frozen?
Some of it open.
Really? All of it, or just?
No, just some of them.
Yeah.
Geese are back.
Being civilized station then?
The lights fire.
Geese are back.
Oh, they loaded on the river, Missouri River.
Oh, are you?
Being civilized station?
Me? I haven't went this year.
I think there's a lot of geese that didn't migrate though, like a lot of the bigger Canadas, I don't think they left, it was so nice.
There was a lot of snows when I played ball.
Right, that's what there was a lot of geese, I don't think went down.
That white paid off now?
Yeah, was it the last lease? I have.
They won't spend all the money in car wash for the.
Want to do some applicants for commission? Great.
Yes. Craig turned his in, and James Vanderboor's turn.
James Bennett, oh, Jim? Jim?
Jim? And that's you.
Well, I gotta be true, I had somebody call me. It's good. And then we were looking at other people.
You know, Gary, if nobody petitions for your job, you have to take it.
Huh?
That's the law.
Yeah.
I don't know what law it is, I can't specify, that's a law.
But you can, I mean, you don't have to take that out, you can go ahead and write it.
Hey, you don't have to take a petition out, yep. And someone could get wrote in even if they don't technically run as a write-in, but if enough people put together a scheme, maybe that person would run, I don't know, that's happened before. Especially in the smaller towns, they get together and write in 10 people, and then, you know, maybe it's a joke, but then the guy takes it, it can happen.
Don't encourage people to.
Well, the first time I
Well, I'm
ran,
just telling you,
I got it on as a write-in,
yeah,
and then I got on the November election, and I had my point in it, yeah.
that's how my dad got it. He decided way late that time, and he ran as a write-in.
You were so upset with that.
Yeah.
Oh, lots of money all at once. I don't know, how many years was that mill pit?
I think that's our last balloon.
Yeah, that was a 4-year deal or something like that.
Oh, you got blue payment on it.
Yeah.
It's been 4 years, isn't it?
I think so, 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Fast.
I think there's just a little lease, yet I have to look at the contract, yeah, there might be just a little lease for next year yet, I'm not sure. But he didn't have to call me.
Yeah, you called, a couple times there, that's all.
I think a deer wrecked it. A deer wrecked it. That's true, they don't have to get.
Well, I was gonna say, I hope it was a deer that hit.
Maybe chasing something, but it's.
So when they have for billing for a person was $4,000, the one that was.
Oh, it looked like one guy was 3,000 and the other two were 1,000, so. Seems like that every month, there's always a couple 1-2 day deals and there's somebody in there for like 30 days. Unreal.
He's smart.
Yeah.
Would you want, I was gonna catch Kathy before she left, but she's still here. I wonder if she would. I'm just gonna give her this plaque if I'm gone tomorrow and Thursday. Pardon me?
You didn't adjourn, right?
No,
Nope.
not yet.
just something that'll be a smaller place. Having this long ways. You're doing pretty good there, fellow.
Yeah, well, we were still done. Covered a lot of stuff today.
Well, you don't have a place catch, do you?
And
Not this month.
this used to be a short meeting when I really, it wasn't long ago, it was a short meeting.
Yeah, it's 6, 7 o'clock.
We're gonna get out of here before everybody else, remember? That worked really well.
Yeah, I thought the microphone and the stuff, but it didn't work well.
I can't seem to get Teams to work on my phone. I don't know, I've tried a couple different times over, like, people are like, I'll do a Teams thing, I'm like, never mind. I got a newer iPhone, but I
Yeah, I never used it on.
don't know, it just never seems to wanna work, or like the Wi-Fi's terrible, I don't know. I don't have a lot of luck with Teams. Zoom seems to work fine, but
No, it's lunch, maybe.
did the sun come out?
Yeah.
Good, I hope it melts the snow out there.
Phone calls from our people.
What do we buy in area 42?
We have the worship website for sheriff's office.
What do we share some?
What they need that for?
The rescue,
I was first kids.
you know,
That grant for that, I think,
You had one before, but
well, you know, like last year, I don't wanna mention anybody's name, but they had to go in, get into a road when there was a blizzard to get somebody out to get them to the hospital.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But the ambulance then they had to
Okay.
go and, I don't know how, I don't know, but to get somebody out for the ambulance, I don't know. You
Oh, I can
ask
see
me,
that,
but-
come.
I think that Ranger was a part of a grant from Homeland Security or something like that, though.
so what is it on track of it?
I don't know,
Yes.
we have track.
He sold the old, he sold the other one and bought,
But you don't know if it's track or wheels.
it has.
It must be
Or does
track.
that track?
Who did that, Gary? Gary does it?
I was gonna say, yeah, if you're gonna use it in the winter time with there.
I wanna say that Ranger, that was a deal with Homeland Security like a few years, I mean, this might have been a trade-in upgrade or something, but that originally came from there was a grant for that.
He traded that other one in and sold it. Must have sold
Pardon
it.
me?
He must have sold it, huh? Not traded it in.
He sold one, he sold his old one,
Oh,
and then he used that money and he bought a different one.
It's just for 29,000, 28,000, like 30,000.
and the Rangers are the price of a pickup dang near,
Yeah.
well, except now pickups are 70,000, so I guess the
Still
number.
half of it.
Yeah, still, the ratio wise, it's the same. Is it me or the bill's kinda light this month?
They're not all in either.
Oh, 'cause I was gonna say, it doesn't seem like there's as many as usual.
Like the record, they get billed items, errors, and things. Redo it, I mean, it's-
How many issues in the record come to the courthouse?
how many issues? I know I get one, auditor's office, so we have to have one in our
Well, I
office.
know,
I don't know who else gets one.
Well, she used to come all the time, or she watched all the video now? I mean,
I don't know.
She watches it on the video.
She does 14 newspapers,
who, Kelly?
cause that Mobridge Publishing bought out the Garrison, Beulah,
Oh, did they?
Hazen, So she does all the cities, all the, cause she called me a while back and when I said that, I'm like, well, what happened to you? I said, we didn't run you off, did we? And she goes, she's got so many to go to, she
Yeah.
said if she's in town or something.
They have an editor though that writes, like that story I had in about that primary $500 tax credit I did last week, I did that with the editor doing that,
We did that too?
the editor.
Oh.
I know when Kelly had called me last time too, she did have kind of like, it sounds like a death in the family or something too, so she went out to Michigan, Wisconsin, wherever she's from or something.
Oh, she had a dance because she doesn't come here anymore, so she must, yeah.
Yeah, I know, she had some kind of a family issue, cause she like emailed or called me there a while back about something and then,
Well, she was in a car accident too.
I don't know about that, I just know that she was, but I think she works a lot from home and online and watches whatever meetings, cause I think she covers some in South Dakota too, like northern South Dakota, like them.
They pick me up in my house.
I don't remember which ones they are, so
fireplace there.
there's a bunch of different ones.
You got a problem or something? Can we adjourn here, Mr.
Well, if you guys are done with the, if you guys are done, then make a motion to adjourn, go ahead. Somebody make a motion to adjourn officially?
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Arnold makes a motion to adjourn, meeting adjourned.